Hello, I'm Robin Gibson, and this is the Harvard House Money Morsel. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm sitting today with Willie Pelser. Morning, Willie.
Morning, Robin.
As you can see, we've got jerseys back on again. We don't know whether it's winter or summer in this part of the world. Willie, we've talked a lot about interest rates. We've talked about South Africa and load shedding and that kind of thing. But one of the things that's sort of been a thread that we've had all the way along is let's not forget China. Now, it appears that maybe a fire has been lit under China in the last couple of days. Can you give us some insights as to maybe what's ignited that?
Yeah, Robin, we can certainly go there. Financial markets are actually a funny place because sometimes, as you say, we tend to forget things, historically, and we always come back to long-term cycles, and things like. So China was written off for a long time, and remember the days where they did that massive clampdown on like the internet industry and so on, and say, Tencent fell out of bed and all those related companies and so on. So the Chinese, we must remember, it's a sort of authority-related state. What the president says is the rule.
Yes,
that's China. So. Went into sort of hibernation, and a lot of fund houses said, don't write them off, or write them off at your own peril, that sort of thing. Yes. So what happened, suddenly China came through, or there was a problem in the sort of property segment and the consumer, in the housing market and so on. So they came with their sort of system of relief from an interest rate perspective. So I think there were about 3 or 4 different levels of where they adjusted. Yes. And it is all to support the housing industry and sort of the consumer pocket. So the first one in general is sort of, the official interest rate was being cut. But then they have different structures, and I'm not going to bore people with the small intricacies of this thing, but certain type of second home loans were adjusted so that you could at least repay this thing. And then in some of the existing mortgages, there was a cut in rate. So say there was about 3 or 4 levels. That ignited the whole system in the sense of the consumer will have surplus. That's basically what it comes to. Yes, to pay off their debt. But what spooked the market in a sense was, yes, there is an interest rate relief. Remember, we had the 50 points from the Federal Reserve. We had our 25. All over the world, interest rates are being cut. In general, vote of confidence for financial markets that we're in this phase now. Inflation's coming down. China's doing this. Yeah, and the stock market's just took off. It was like someone lifted the foot from the brake pedal and he just pushed it into overdrive.
Yes. So Willie, in a lot of my conversations with people, as South Africans, we get very internal. The problems are completely our politics and our government. But I like to highlight to people that there were actually 3 legs to that stool. It was obviously the local was a problem. We had the very strong US interest rates, which put everyone under the pump except the US dollar. And then obviously the commodity cycle was not great from that point of view, with China being our major trading partner. So it's not just the internal things from China perspective, it's also the US. So they've also got that happening. That's making a difference. It's also going to make a difference to us. So some of the external stuff is becoming wind in our sails as opposed to our headwind. Is that right?
Exactly, Rob. Exactly. But also, I think in this geopolitical environment that we live in, it's election coming up in the US, so who's going to win? Will it be pro-East or Chinese policies or against it? We know that Trump is sort of against it in the sense, let's make America great again, that type of thing. That also have, as you say, the bigger picture spill over into the world. And China's not asleep. China's not stupid, let me put it that way. No country is stupid, you work to your strengths as to what I need to do. It was interesting, I was watching just in the car industry, some videos as to where technology is taking us all over the world. Now we've got the luxury brands from Europe, the Mercedes and BM and things like that. And the upcoming luxury brands in China, for example, has moved beyond what we deem as the ultimate luxury, being a Merc or a BM or a Chrysler in the US or things like that.
Yes.
And it just shows you that the underlying economy, that what they're using to their strengths is their development into lithium, in into AI and all of those things. And so there are forces at play, and now we're waiting for a fourth leg on that chair that you're talking about. I don't know what that is, but that's markets. What's going to give us an extra boost globally, to get the chair not to be unstable.
I guess the one we should always keep our mind on and just what's happening with Israel and Iran, because I mean, in essence, Israel is slowly dismantling all Iran's fronts. So one kind of wonders when it becomes just Iran versus Israel, doesn't it? And that's probably the big question mark over the market, isn't it?
There's as you say, another. Maybe that's the fourth leg on chairs, is where are international wars going, or are they going to be settled? We've totally forgot about the war in the Ukraine.
Yes.
Argument's sake. So just on that point, interesting, Ron, we're sort of talking markets here. Barlow World has been on front page news for what they did wrong in trading into Russia.
Yes.
And it's interesting, it comes back to political sanctions and so on that was initiated from the US in that war space. And the Barlow case, by listening to management and so on, internal controls were not in place to check what they've actually exported to, someone buying a second-hand part, buying a new part for a machine that's operating in that Russian environment. And it went through the system. So forensics has picked it up. So they were not working against the sanctions from a US perspective.
Yeah.
But it was just an internal control to say, but I can't move this thing to that country. It slipped through the cracks. So there's a lot of moving parts still all over the world.
And I mean, that just shows you why we diversify our portfolios, because something like that, I mean, all the research in the world doesn't pick up a mistake like that ahead of time, doesn't it? Yeah, no, perfect. Willie, thanks so much for giving us some insight. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.